Welcome to Soul Food Sunday. Today we are discussing the fifth part of the book IKIGAI. I'm so excited that we've reached this far. We've been able to discuss the entire book. Actually, there's some sections like the yoga sections that I did not cover in this book, but you can actually read the book for you to understand many types of yoga and what actually applies to you. I only picked the points that actually apply to your purpose, to your life, so that you are able to build a purposeful life and a life that you're excited to live. All right. So welcome once again. And before I go ahead, this is a pre-recorded session, reason being that on Sunday, I am pretty busy, but as I promised, I have to give you what I plan to do. I'm one person who keeps my promise, and I ensure that those who have been watching, there are a number of people who've been consistently watching these videos, and they're giving me feedback, and that keeps me motivated. And I'm happy to know that I'm actually adding some value to your life and to your business and what you're trying to do. And therefore, I cannot stop working because I know this information is valuable to you. So let's go straight to the slides so that we can start today's session. All right. As I said, it's Ikigai part 5, and I hope you've been watching all the others. Ikigai book is actually teaching us some lessons from the Japanese secret to a happy and long life. And if you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please go ahead, click that button so that you're able to watch more videos that come to you every Saturday morning. That's when we upload. However, Soul Food Sunday is usually recorded on every Sunday. All right, let's go ahead. So today, what are we discussing? Our topic for today is using flow to find your Ikigai. We will understand what this is all about as we go along. Just keep watching. Before we go ahead, let me first introduce myself. I'm Lucy Munga, and I'm a coach, certified coach, recognized by ICF, and I train people how to build courses online. I have Amara Campus Online, which is actually a website which has so many courses that you can learn. Some of the things that I've been teaching here, actually, they're more structured in a course, and they have deliverables that you can actually learn from. So just go to amaracampus.com and you'll be able to see all those courses. And if you want to know more about me, you can go to lucymunga.com. You can see at the bottom of this particular screen, there's www.lucymunga.com, and you'll find more about me and other work that I do. The other work that I do, other than training people how to build courses, is also the actual coaching, one-on-one or group sessions. And finally, I give back to the community through the Fab Life community. We have a Fab Life group in Facebook, where actually all this also is uploaded and much more, where we have conversations on how we can give back to the community, mainly focusing on children who do not have school fees, and we want to help them start a life now that they have done pretty well in the primary school. So we pick them when they are going into the secondary school. You can join the Fab Life group if you're keen on supporting those children, build a life for themselves, really. They're working pretty hard. So again, as I said, today's word for today is to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. I've discussed this particular verse before, and one thing I would want you to keep remembering is that keep working, because this is a season for you to learn, if you're watching this, to implement what you learn, and definitely you'll have another season to harvest what you have learned. And for those who do not use the Bible, please check the Quran and any other book that you use to keep you spiritually nourished. All right, so using flow to find your Ikigai is a topic for today. So let's dive in and start off immediately. But before we get there, let's define what is flow. What does that word flow when it comes to Ikigai? Remember, Ikigai is more of a philosophy or way of being. It is not about finding your purpose. It's a way of being. It is about being happy and content in your day-to-day, whichever or whatever that may entail or whatever that means to you, just being happy and content every day. And doing that with purpose. So whatever you do, be happy and content and do it with purpose. So the book actually, the title suggests that it is the secret of living long and a happy life. That is what Ikigai means. Most people confuse it for Ikigai meaning purpose itself. No, it is actually your living a happy and content life and doing that with your purpose. So always remember that. So going to the flow, because it's connected with Ikigai, the concept of flow, it is a state in which people are so involved in the activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience itself, it's so enjoyable that people will do it at great cost for the sheer sake of doing it. That is a psychologist called Mihaly, who from Italy, actually, who defined it this way. And for sure, it's the same way the book Ikigai defines it. It is when you're in so much flow that even whatever is around you cannot distract you, because you're in the flow, you're enjoying what you're doing, you're flowing in it. In fact, the example given in the book, it's when you're reading a very interesting book or watching a very interesting movie, somehow any noise around you will not distract you because you're engrossed, you're in it, you're flowing with it. And the book Ikigai is actually advocating for that. In life, you for sure need to pick a job or an activity that keeps you in the flow. And that means that you do not ever want to think about retire. That one doesn't exist because it's a way of life. So always think about living a life or doing a business that is actually so synced with your lifestyle that it's a way of life and it gives you an income. And that is what I'm teaching you all in all these sessions, so that you're able actually to look out and see if you're not enjoying what you're doing today, what is this that you can do to put you in a flow, in that it is part and parcel of your life. You enjoy so much, it gives you an income, and you never want to even hear the word retire because it doesn't exist. All right. So, and that is what we are going to work on today, to discuss that in detail. So the step number one to find your flow is that write a list of what you enjoy doing. All right. So I'm trying to help you find what is that you can do that puts you in that flow, that you enjoy it so much and you can make a living out of it. So today's exercises are very, very important. And I would urge you just to take a pen and paper so that you can write exactly what we are going to discuss today, come out with some suggestions for yourself, and eventually implement them for your life. Because there are so many people actually who've lost jobs last year, 2020, and this year, 2021, and they're looking for something to do. Little do they know that they're actually carrying that thing that they need to do in themselves. They actually have it. It's just that they need to package it and put it out there to be able to make a living out of it. So, and this exercise will help you to do that. So step number one is to write a list of what you enjoy doing. And there are three critical questions that you need to follow through. The first question is, which activities drive you into a flow? We've already defined what flow is. Which are those activities, when you're doing them, you get lost and you keep going and going and going and going. And sometimes you wonder, oh my goodness, 1 hour is over, 3 hours are over, and I'm not tired yet. And I'm still feel like I'm still going on. So list all of them down. And what do these activities have in common? Because it could be 1, it could be 3, it could be 10 of them. What do those activities have in common? Number 2, why do these activities drive you into a flow? You also need to write that down, right? Is it that sometimes when you're alone, you're able to do those things all by yourself and to completion without even feeling tired? Or is it that when you're with others in a team, you feel so synchronized in that team and you're able to work so well and you're able to complete a task in a team? What else drives you into a flow? So it's some work that perhaps you need to take some time, maybe a day or 2, or maybe in your quiet time, and work on that. Step number 3 is, do you enjoy flow when you do things that require you to move your body or those that require thinking. Because, for example, if it's those that require you to move your body, like exercises, playing football, running, and everything, perhaps you get the flow when you're in the gym and so on and so forth. So need to figure out, is it when you're moving your body, or is it cooking, baking, whatever? Those things require you to move your body. So are those the activities that actually put you in the flow? Or is it that you sit somewhere in a corner, you think through, you write, for example, people who write books, people who write novels, people who write articles, people who read a lot, yeah? What is it? In what circumstances do you enjoy this flow? With people or without people, when you are thinking or when you're moving, and so on. So keep writing as many as possible, because by the end of today's session, you're going to see how you can use all that to be able to build something that you can do and that you enjoy, and so that you can live a happy and enjoyable life. That's what Ikigai is all about. Step number 2, experience each item on the list. So what happens is that sometimes you may want to write those things that you enjoy doing, but maybe they're not there. Maybe you've just been sitting around, you've never discovered anything. Maybe, yeah, whatever you've been doing at your work, you never enjoyed it. Now you've been laid off, you're at home, you don't know what to do. All right? If you do not know what to do, then you need to do some experiment. Some experiment with something that you can imagine of, just imagine out something. If it's, you have cooked once in your lifetime, trying and cook several times, within a month, and then you test whether that you enjoy it. That's what I mean. So for a period of 1 to 4 weeks, spend more time doing some activities that make you flow until you're able to answer the 3 questions above in step 1. All right. So if you do not have anything in mind right now, just keep experimenting for 1 month, for a whole 4 weeks. Pick a few things here and there, try them out. If in 2 days you're not happy, just leave it, try something else, and so on. Within a month or even 2 months, you'll be able to understand what is this that puts you in a flow. And at the end of the day, pick top 3 items that you truly enjoy and that keep you in the flow. And once you have those 3, then those are the things that we need to understand. How can you use those 3 things to build an income? All right. But sometimes someone may ask, what if I don't have things that keep in the flow, in the flow? So if you don't have anything that puts you in the flow, we've just discussed what you can do. Ensure that you experiment with as many things as possible. All right. Step number 3, try new things that are similar to the list you created. For example, if you want to discover new things that can put you in the flow, they could be a little bit similar to what you've been doing. For example, if you're a photographer, then you can try painting, because photography and painting, kind of its color, it has the same feel. Yeah, if you look at a painting or a photo, they give you the same feel. So if you have never done painting, but you've been doing a lot of photography, and perhaps you want a second item and a third item because you only have one of photography, then you can try painting, see whether it gives you the flow. If you've been snowboarding, try surfing. It's quite similar, yeah? Or skiing, or, something that is similar to what you actually have been doing. And you might find something else that you've never tried that is so exciting, and it's actually giving you that flow. So other than just dwelling on what you've been doing, this is a way of discovering new things that you can also do that can give you some more flow and also some income. Always remember, you want to build an income. And in lesson 1, or rather in part 1, we discussed how you can actually find what you're passionate about and what you can do for a living and what can give you an income. If you combine this lesson 5 and lesson 1, you should actually be able now to come up with something that works for you. Finally, Once you've identified those 3 items, pick the top 3 if you can, and then focus on building those experiences or those activities, and perhaps even build a business out of it, right? As coaches, we can actually help you now, once you narrow down to the top 3, now to move to the next step on how to package it and even build something and go online and amplify that particular message to ensure that you're able to build your business. Actually, if you go to amaracampus.com and subscribe or register into Monetize Your Message course, you'll be able to see how you can actually package that particular solution to be able to build your business. Now, those are 3 important steps, but life is not work, work, work. Sometimes you need to take pleasure in mundane tasks. There's some tasks sometimes that we may ignore, but sometimes they help us take the break out of these other hardcore, activities like the work that you do every day. All right, some of them, like for example, washing dishes, or even cleaning up the house, playing with your children, ensuring that you're observing what they're doing, reviewing their homework. And those small things, sometimes when you take a break from these things that you're doing that are hardcore, they also help you rejuvenate and come back and feel, excited. There are also things that you can actually build a microflow out of them, and they make them enjoyable. Not those mundane tasks, sometimes some people dislike them, but I'm telling you, it's your state of mind that you need to change and ensure that you are also enjoying them. And because it's not work all the time, right? Enjoy the birthdays and so on and so forth. Train your mind to attain flow through meditation, sitting straight, breath work, decluttering your mind, and slow thoughts. Because more often than not, even when you're doing those tasks that you like, if you're not sitting straight, if you're not comfortable, your desk is not comfortable, your seat is not comfortable, your legs are not well positioned, you're in an uncomfortable position, sometimes they may even start making you feel like that job you're doing could be, cumbersome. It may not be good, but it's not the job you're doing or the task you're doing. It's actually your sitting position and how you're actually feeling at that particular moment as you carry out that particular task. So one thing, just do the little things that make you comfortable. And I said sitting up straight, to meditation. Again, if you check one of my videos on my YouTube channel, Life Purpose with Lucy Munga, or even in my blog on lucymunga.com, you'll find 5 steps that can help you kickstart your morning. It's called the Savers model. How you can kickstart your morning with meditation, with scripting, and giving yourself affirmations and so on and so forth, to be able to ensure that your day starts on a good note. All right. So just review those that particular content, and you'll be able to understand how to go about meditation and setting up your morning in a very nice way to be able to make it a successful day. All right. The other thing is about breath work and decluttering your mind. It's extremely important. These are also activities that you can do early in the morning and even late in the evening as you go to sleep, because definitely when you go to sleep, as we said last week in our session 4, you should not actually, early morning and late evening, you should ensure your mind is full of information that is encouraging, that's supportive. In fact, the best thing you can do is you can go to YouTube and look for a meditation video and play it just before you sleep, even if it's a 10-minute or 5-minute video. Then you sleep feeling much better, calm, and your mind is more calm, so that you can sleep properly, and the next morning you can start your day nicely. Sometimes people watch movies that are not very, very good, and sometimes they even have nightmares at night. Ensure that when you go to sleep, actually prepare yourself properly, even mentally. Yeah, it's very important. Okay. The last point on this particular slide is about the archer's secret to winning the archery. From the book, there was an archery competition, and different people were given different things to do in preparation for the archery competition. And the winner for that competition was given meditation only. Actually, she did not, is a lady, she did not practice at all. She did not go to the field to practice, but she knew how to play. And she was just given a task of just meditation for at least 2 hours per day to enhance clarity of mind. And she won the archery. Someone else was given the task of going out there and actually playing or practicing. Another one was given different activities. I can't remember all of them, but the one who won actually did not practice, but sat down, and every day for the period they were given, she was just meditating. And because of that clarity of mind, she won the game. So what does that point tell us? It tells us that your preparation to win, either in a game, in your job, in any competition that you have in your life, clarity of mind is paramount. It's most important, okay? It's not just practicing or reading books and so on. And that is why sometimes you find, if let's say you have a child, one of them passes exam, the other one doesn't pass. And you may find that the one who doesn't pass exam perhaps reads more than the one who passes the exams. Why? It's because perhaps the one who is reading a lot has the mind is not clear, has a lot of things that are disturbing that child. And in fact, instead of focusing on their scores in their exams, perhaps you need to first understand what could be troubling this child. Why is the mind not clear enough to be able to absorb the content? Those are the things perhaps you need to handle, not just for your children, for yourself, for your relatives, your siblings, and so on and so forth. So let's look at the difference between flow and distraction. Because when you're in a flow, how does that look like? And what are the advantages of being in flow? And what are the disadvantages of being so distracted and doing too many things at the same time? When you're in a flow, your mind is focused. But when you're distracted, your mind wanders a lot. Yeah, you have a wandering mind. You can hardly concentrate. And sometimes some people think that they're multitasking. They're not multitasking. There's no multitasking in life. It's just doing little bits of everything and never concentrating on any. And that actually, causes a lot of clutter in your mind and confusion. So second point is living in the present. When you're in a flow, you're able to live in the present. You're able to concentrate on that task. You're able to read that book to the end without any distractions, because you're not looking into the future or in the past. Because a distracted mind always looks in the past and starts, getting frustrated or even regretting some things they did in the past. And also sometimes looks in the future and starting worrying, how will tomorrow look like? How will next year look like? Because their mind is so distracted with other things, they can hardly see what's happening in the present. So if you ask such a person to even carry out a certain task, perhaps they even make so many mistakes. And that's how you find so many employees or people reporting to you making so many mistakes, because their mind is so distracted. They're not concentrating. But there are reasons why they're distracted. They could be thinking too much about the past and the future, and it's maybe perhaps about the family that they're coming from, the children, the money issues. There are many things that could be distracting them. So if you have someone reporting to you in your office, do not actually start reprimanding them just because they cannot concentrate. Perhaps you need to sit down with them and understand, what are they worried about? Which future or which past is actually coming to haunt them? And perhaps be able to coach them and help them come out of it and have some clarity of mind. The third item is about free from worry. Yeah. Flow, the advantages of flow is that you're free from worry. Yes. But somebody who is distracted is concerned so much about your daily life, things that are not in the moment. Because we said, if you're in the flow, you live in the moment, at the present, and you're able to concentrate on the task that you're carrying on. The other one, hours fly by when you're in the flow. Hours fly by, you find yourself completing so many tasks, so many jobs, so many activities, and time just flies, and you've done so much because you are in the flow. But if you're not in the flow, every minute seems endless. It's like you're just lost. You don't know what to concentrate on. Nothing is getting completed. So it's just confusing and you're lost. And the other one being the flow is that you're in control. Exactly. when you're in control, that means that when you're on an activity and something destructive comes, your system or your mind, your focus is able to eliminate those distractions and is able to continue in the flow, concentrating on the activity that you're working on. And therefore, you are in control. But people who are not in control or who are distracted, they lose control and feel overwhelmed. Yes. Look at the people you work with. Who is this who is feeling so overwhelmed? Things are actually, she or he is not in control. Something is completely distracting that person. They cannot hardly see what they need to be concentrating on. They feel the world is on their shoulders and they can hardly, carry it. And that is how people are actually getting into depression, stress, frustration, because they can hardly organize their mind and they are not in control. They feel they are not in control, yet given the proper coaching and advice or mentorship, they can actually be able to focus and organize their work into manageable tasks. That's all that person requires. The other one, when you're in the flow, you're able to prepare thoroughly for any activity, a presentation, or whatever you're doing. While a person who is distracted does not have proper preparation. You've seen people even going to presentations, and when they're presenting, somehow they're lost and it's their own slides, right? They prepared, but somehow they're not able to present because they're so distracted, even when perhaps even they prepared those slides too late in the day. And by the time they came to present, they forgot the message they wanted to deliver. All right. In the flow knows what she or he should be doing. Frequently gets stuck and does not even know how to proceed. All right. Does not know how to proceed when someone is distracted. Have you ever seen people who are so stuck? They're clever, but they are so stuck. It's because they are not organized in their mind. But someone in the flow, if you ask them, when can I come back for you to be able to assist me with this task or that task, they can tell you actually how their calendar looks like. Today morning, I'm working on this, in the afternoon on that. For the next 2 days, I'll be on XYZ, and therefore I can only take up an additional task on Monday, or they can take an additional task after 3 days because they are organized. They know what they want to do at any one given time. And even as a coach, those are some of the things that we coach some employees to be able to organize themselves, because some say, I'm so stuck, I'm not getting promoted. And it's because perhaps they haven't demonstrated that clarity, that organizational skills, and perhaps they're not even able to deliver on their work as much as they are so qualified, they have papers, and they have all the qualifications that are required for the particular job that they're doing. So it's a matter of just coaching that employee and giving them some guidance on how they can get more organized. The other item is about clear mind and overcomes all obstacles. Yes, when obstacles come, you find that people who are in the flow are able to overcome those obstacles because they're again able to observe that particular challenge that is coming along, and they're able actually to either ask for help or even resolve it because they're able to understand, what is this obstacle on my way? And who should I actually get support from? They have that clarity of mind. But someone who is distracted is plagued with doubt, concerns, low self-esteem, because they don't even know what is hitting them. They know something is hitting them. They're frustrated, but they cannot really put a finger on it. They can't tell you, they cannot even express themselves to let you know what is this actually that is overwhelming, is actually frustrating them. They are not able to express themselves. And eventually, sometimes they end up doubting themselves. They think they actually have they're the ones with a problem. It affects their self-esteem eventually. In fact, I remember one person who was telling me that, this was a coachee, who was telling me that, yes, they haven't gotten promoted and they feel that they need to be more assertive. But when we discussed and went through what the obstacles are, what the challenges were, you find that all they needed is to ensure that their supervisor or their manager is aware of how their calendar looked like. That actually was bottom line, because they felt so much work was coming onto their desk and they were not able to say no. But the question was, if your manager doesn't know what you're working on, if they don't know how much time it will take to complete that particular task, then they'll keep piling and piling more work on you. But if you have that calendar that says, this task will take me 2 hours, that task will take me 2 days, that task will take me X number of hours, and your manager actually understands that is your volume of work, then they will actually look for someone else for the extra piece of work that they want to give you. So always be very clear on what you're working on, how long it will take. And when you actually get an obstacle or a challenge somewhere along the way, communicate that immediately to your supervisor. And that you'll be able to overcome these obstacles, and whoever you're working with, your peers, your colleagues, your supervisor, all of them will be aware of where you are. And even they can even offer help because they can see some obstacles that are coming your way. So it's very important to have some clarity of mind and to be in the flow. The other one is about pleasant feelings. Yes, people who have clarity of mind or who are in the flow are pleasant in nature. And you find that even when challenges come, they are very calm. They don't fight back, they don't shout, they don't scream. They just say, it's a new adventure. Let's move on. Let's find out what lies ahead. And we'll get, to the bottom of it. So they have some pleasant feelings in them. And that is so visible even when you're relating with such people. But when you meet people who are boring, exhausting, or even some who are even shouting, screaming, avoiding you, twisting your mind and giving you some, promises that they never keep, is because they are distracted. Their mind cannot actually be able to give you proper information as to what they're doing, why they're doing, where they're coming from, where they're going. They're completely distracted. And it can be very frustrating for some young employees who actually work in an environment where there's a lot of distraction. So even you as a leader, wherever you are, please provide some clarity on where you are coming from, where you're going, to the people who are actually working with you. And that way, you definitely find that even your employees are able now to follow through with your instructions much better, because you as a leader, you also have that clarity of mind, and you're working in a certain flow that they can also follow. And the final one is ego fades. You find that pleasant people that, they're in control of their life, there's no ego. All right. And they're just pleasant, they're just nice. And they're just offering, support to whoever comes along. And yeah. So, but when someone is totally distracted, frustrated, exhausted, cannot tell left, right, center, you find that they're in constant self-criticism, they're full of ego, they feel totally frustrated. And that is where you find people screaming all over, because they're not in control of their life. They're not in control of their work in the office. They're not in control of anything that's happening. Yeah, if they are a parent, they're not in control of their homes, right? And that is when you find those distracted people causing a lot of commotion to their peers, to their siblings, to their colleagues. And it can be very frustrating to the people experiencing that negative energy from these distracted people. So it's important that after you listen to this particular video, please go out there and find your flow. What is this that puts you in a flow and is able to filter out distractions, and your flow is never, disturbed, because the distractions can actually be messy and can give you a messy type of a life. So let me give you some guidance on how to organize your day, especially if you're just starting to, if you want to move from a distracted or destructive lifestyle to a flow, right? Start your journey to achieve that flow by working in a place where you will not be distracted. Most people think by having music in your ears as you work, that they can be in a flow. You cannot multitask. You're either listening to that music or you're working, right? But I know a few young people, yeah, especially the campusarians, will not agree with me for now, but for sure, just try and be in a quiet place, either in a library, in a studio, in a cafe, in a room, separate room in your house, in a separate office. Go to the boardroom if it's not in use, and find a quiet place to work. Do one piece of work that you've been doing when you're listening to music and with all these distractions, and see the difference in delivery. You find yourself, if you're writing a book, you will have, more clarity, more ideas in what you're writing. If you're actually writing a report from your consultancy work, that report has more weight than if you were in this noisy world. Divide each activity into groups of related tasks, then assign each group its own place. And sorry, I keep correcting these slides. All right, its own place and time. All right, and bundle routine tasks to do them all at once. For example, replying to your emails, even responding to calls. Don't pick calls anytime. You can actually allocate an hour. After every 2 hours, maybe there's another 30 minutes or 20 minutes for replying to emails and picking calls. And then you go back to your flow. After another 2 hours, again, you pick the calls. So example of writing a research paper, it's given actually in the book. So I just use the same thing in the book, but there are so many other examples that I can give. So if you want to write a research paper, you can actually break down this into 3. 1, do the research work early morning, 2 hours, then take a break. After that, midday, take notes from the research work you've done. Now summarize all the notes for the work that you have done and in the next 2 hours, and then take a break. Then finally, write your research paper. This seems like a very small research paper that you need to do. It's not those voluminous ones, yeah? So in the afternoon, you can complete writing up your research paper because your notes are ready and you had done the research early in the morning. And then in the evening, just rest, right? So if your supervisor comes at 1 o'clock and asks, can I give you more work? Or what are you working on? You can explain clearly. Say that I've actually just taken notes from the research I was doing in the morning, and this afternoon I'll be writing up the paper. So perhaps I can take that piece of work tomorrow morning. Simple. All right, just be organized. This is just one example. I can give many more examples, and perhaps during my coaching sessions, we can discuss more. The other thing that you need to remember is that you need to create space and time. I mentioned it earlier, but just to give you a little bit more context into that, number 1, do not look at your phone at all, especially first thing in the morning and last hour in the evening. As I said, just do what you need to do. Early in the morning, meditate and start off your work with energy because you've done a morning routine that you can define for yourself. Do some research on what works for you. Different people do different things. There are people who pray, there are people who do meditation, there are people who just calm down and script all their thoughts on paper as they listen to some quiet or silence or some jazz or something, or classical music, or meditating or meditation music. All right. Then in the last hour in the evening, as I said earlier, calm your mind down. You can also do some sort of meditation or some calming, background music, and do something simple that calms your mind as you go to rest or to retire in bed. Then the second thing, turn off your phone until you achieve a flow. Now, if you use the example that I've just given you, every 2 hours, make sure that your phone is on a silence mode or do not disturb mode. Put it aside until those 2 hours are over. Then pick the phone, check the messages that are coming, reply to all of them, and put it off again. Then most people actually do some technical fasting once a week, or intermittent fasting. That is where you fast for at least 16 hours a day. So it depends on what works for you. And that really helps in boosting your metabolism and your body and rejuvenates your body, and gives you energy the next day. So it's up to you to choose what works for you. You can do a lot of research. There's a lot of material online. and practice and see what works for you. Respond to emails only once or twice a day. It's up to you. It could be more, it could be less. It's up to you to choose what works for you. Define your daily tasks properly. You can use the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique prescribes that you can use 25 to 50 minutes per cycle, and with a 5-minute break. And that cycle, you have actually allocated the tasks that you can do. Then find a pace that works for you. It could be 30 minutes, could be 2 hours, could be 1 hour. It's up to you to know how this technique works for you. Just do some research. How Pomodoro technique works is actually, you can even use a little bell that, or a timer, sorry, a kitchen timer that actually rings when those few minutes that you set are over, and you need to stop and do something else. Take the 5-minute break. Myself, I kind of don't use this one because my body is so used to working 1.5 hours. Yeah, I work 1.5 hours and my body knows how to stop after 1.5 hours and do something else, take a cup of tea or something, or take a walk. Yes, I do that. So start work session with a ritual that you enjoy and end each session with a reward. Yes, remember to reward yourself for a job well done. Don't always wait for someone to say congratulations. Even you, if you had listed all those tasks and you have ticked all of them for the day, by the end of the day, you find yourself, you've completed all of them. Give yourself a reward. Why not? Okay. Then train your mind to return to present, especially when distracted. Yeah, correct. There are always people who will come and distract you. Perhaps you have small children in the house and you're working from home. Those children will come and distract you. You cannot ignore them. You'll have to perhaps, give them back to somebody else who can take care of them and go back to what you were doing and continue. Practice mindfulness, and this will help you to be more centered. And that means something like walking or swimming. Yeah. Then work on one single task at a time. This is very important. If you cannot concentrate on one task and you're assuming that you can multitask, then perhaps getting yourself into the flow will take a longer time. But just practice doing one single task at a time. In fact, what I advocate for is have a list of activities that you want to accomplish that day. Start with the most difficult one. If you came to my session when we were discussing the book Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy a few months ago, then you will see Eat That Frog means actually pick the most difficult task early in the morning when you're fresh and strong, and just work on it through and complete it. Then the smaller tasks come later. So this improves productivity, less time wastage, better attention, less stress, increased creativity, and therefore achieves flow faster. All right. So you can read that book, Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, and it will help you actually implement this working on tasks and how to plan your day, your week, your month, your year. All right. It's a very nice book. All right. So thank you so much for listening in. And before we go, I would want to ask you, what are the 3 things that you have learned today and you want to start implementing going forward? And what are those things that you're going to stop? Because you must stop something and then replace that, what you've stopped, with a new thing that you want to start doing. All right. So, and also please do your homework, the one that we discussed, in finding those things, top 3 things that actually put you in the flow. All right. And I must say, I'm super excited that we've discussed this book and you've enjoyed. For those people who've been enjoying and sending me messages, thank you so much for watching this again. And we have a very interesting book next, which definitely will build on what you've learned from this particular book. If you want to speak to me, please check the comments under this video and have an email address there, and just speak with me anytime. Our next book is Money Management for Beginners. I realized that managing money is not everyone's cup of tea. All right. There are people who actually earn so much, but by the time they retire, maybe at 60, right, they own less than someone who was even earning a quarter or even a third of what they were earning. And why is that so? Why is that so? It's money management skills that one requires. And this book, you will enjoy it, okay? So in this one, we are going to focus on your personal financial management. We'll just go step by step on what the book prescribes. By the way, it's a very simple book, simple English, and you are able to implement those decisions or those recommendations by Giovanni Ricksters. All right, so thank you so much for listening in. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click that button so that you can be reminded when I upload a new video every Saturday. And please talk to me if you haven't spoken to me and you have something to speak to me about. All right, you're most welcome. And today that was it. Thank you so much. And please look for that book because we will start discussing it from next week. What else do I have? Nothing else for this evening. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening and see you next time. Goodbye for now.